You mentioned that you left Italy and went to London because you had more opportunity to work there.
There simply wasn't any work for anyone in Rome at the time. I would have had to do an apprenticeship with a studio for a couple of years, possibly unpaid. At the time, there was a lot of work in London. There was a lot of commercials being made and a lot of television series. And I was lucky enough to meet Bob Godfrey, who is the grandfather of British animation. And he didn't have any work for me at the time, but he suggested another studio. And just mentioning his name, Bob had seen my showreel. It just opened the door.
What was your first big project?
Space Jam was at the time was the biggest project I worked on. It was quite a big film at the time. It had a decent budget. The fact that we were allowed to animate, to work on the Warner Brothers characters on the Looney Tunes, for me that was a dream come true, because I grew up with those characters and I had my favourites, but to be able to draw all of them was a great experience. But also it was a challenging film because it was mixed with live action. And the producer of Space Jam, one of the producers of Space Jam, is now the producer that I've worked on Fantastic Mr. Fox and on the current movie, Frankenweenie for Tim Burton.
How did you get to work on Fantastic Mr. Fox on first place?
I was recommended. I heard that it was happening in London, but I didn't really know anyone on the production, and a director in London, I think, recommended me when they were looking for suitable artists, and I was called by either the producer or the line producer, and I went in for an interview.
Were you terrified of the job you had to do?
Not really. I am more nervous about talking in front of people than I know about working. Working is it's not real work. I get up in the morning and I go and draw for a living. It's not really the most. It's challenging, but it's not the most difficult thing for me to do.
So even though it's someone else's idea, do you find that you can be creative enough?
I've never been against learning a new style and working on someone else's work. And you do have creative input in what you do, whether you're an animator or a storyboard artist. Your addition to that scene that you're animating is yours. So the way you animate a character becomes your own.
Yes.
In feature films, usually, especially 2D animations, there'll be a team of animators that specifically just animate one character, so that their style remains with that character throughout the movie.
You mentioned that the rat was in fact your character.
Well, yeah, the rat in Fantastic Mr. Fox was mostly my character. I think I worked on it solely on all the scenes that he's involved. I worked throughout, and the style of movement based on Wes's notes and on the reference of West Side Story came out of like a couple of meetings that we had, and then some sketches that he did, and then the animator added his input to it and his creativity to getting the character to move in a specific way.
So you talked a lot about Wes's way of work, and some really interesting things you said, that he has to act as a character. And now I'm interested, you're working with Tim Burton. Can you tell me what are the differences between those two directors, their way of work?
Tim started in animation. He worked at Disney for many years. And incidentally, the film we're doing now is a remake of his first Disney live-action short film. So he knows the process, and he knows that he knows to allow his artists to have a certain freedom and come up with ideas and then pitching ideas. With Wes, it was a little bit more regimented, because Wes, not coming from an animation background, from a live-action background, he has specific ideas on how he wanted the scenes to look, the characters to move, the acting to the lines to be delivered, the characters' poses, how they work. So although it seemed that the minutiae and the detail that Wes insisted upon seemed quite restrictive, in a way it was quite liberating, because it kind of removes your thinking brain and just applies your working brain, so you can actually get to know other people. I think Nelson Lowry, who was the art director on Fantastic Mr. Fox, praised the fact that for the first time he created environments that existed in real life. So there wasn't as much creative design involved, but there was a collating of real elements, of real objects from the real world, and then redesigned and reshaped into tiny little props to fit the sets of the movie.
And can you tell me something about the new Tim Burton movie? Something?
I'm not allowed to be honest.
You're not allowed.
I'm not allowed. No, obviously.
How will you be involved?
I'm working in the story team.
Not in the same way, with the same as in Mr. Fox, or?
And there's 5 of us at the moment. They're all very, very experienced story artists. I'm kind of the young one in the group with less feature film experience. But we have a very strong team, and for the first time I'm working with tablets, with Fantastic Mr. Fox, with storyboard and everything on paper, and we used so much paper, and I feel bad for the trees that we had to chop down.
Is Tim Burton really such an eccentric as he is in public?
I've only met him 3 times in the current production, and he's just full of energy, and he's very dynamic, and he has lots of ideas, and he's very open to everything that we've done so far. And it's a completely different experience from Fantastic Mr. Fox, but it's a pleasurable one as well.